Sit back, relax, and keep your eyes to the skies.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S-4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live from the S-4 headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains here in the studio in Cape Horn, Concrete, Washington. So tonight, it's March 21st, our March Roundtable, where we all come together and ask 3 questions and discuss them on anything paranormal, UFO, alien, cryptid, and conspiracy. So sit back, grab your coffee, and enjoy the ride. It's going to get interesting. So tonight, we are joined by Preston Dennett, author and UFO researcher, Barry Gaunt, our Kentucky MUFON director and leader of Night Stalkers Paranormal, Arnold Hampton, our retired Washington State Parks and all things Bigfoot and paranormal, especially from the parks. And, of course, Joe Algeyer, our geologist and master of pointy sticks. So how are we all doing tonight? Outstanding. Hell yeah, we love Roundtable. Roundtable's awesome. If I could only figure out how to get the hell in my own chat room. Anyway, you know what? We're gonna kick it right on off. Joe, I told you I was gonna single you out first thing. What's your first question tonight?
No, don't quit your day job. Don't quit your day job. Answer given. Ooh.
Hold on. Give me a second before.
What's up?
For some reason, Skype isn't connecting.
Oh my goodness.
Barry, can you just keep saying check for me?
Check it out.
I want to check.
Check.
Damn it.
Eric, you're going to need to fill in while I keep trying this.
Okay, all right. So while we fix our technical difficulties with Skype, as it's always fun having Skype. So we still have our Fourth Moon Paranormal fundraiser going on. Just a reminder too for next week. Next week's show
Perfect.
is actually...
We're good.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
So, next Saturday, we're actually investigating the Hub, which is the only actual bar in Concrete. And then we're going to talk about the investigation Sunday for next week's show with the Northwest Paranormal Research Group. Anyway, so, Bigfoot.
Back to Bigfoot.
Back to Bigfoot, now that we have our technical issues fixed. So, I don't even know what Skype wasn't working, was it? So, the question from Joe was, with the two different variations of Bigfoot theory, is he actually an ape, or is he interdimensional, or supernatural?
Or alien.
Preston, can you give us your answer again? Because that was perfect.
Yeah. Say it again, Preston.
Yeah. I didn't want to research Bigfoot. I knew it was opening up a can of worms, and it was. I was afraid it might be real, and sure enough, it was.
Right.
I couldn't believe how much evidence there was, and it really kind of threw me for a loop when I started getting reports of the paranormal associated with Bigfoot. I think there are two types. I think there probably is just your average primate running around there, but there's definitely this other type where it seems to be sentient, intelligent, can disappear, can turn invisible, telepathic. I started the first Bigfoot case I got was this guy in Canyon Country, which is here in Southern California. Turns out there is a lot of Bigfoot activity in that area. Mm-hmm. And he called me because he had a UFO land in his backyard, which overlooks the LA National Forest. And the very next night, he says, this Bigfoot showed up. He was roaring really loud. His dogs were going crazy. And he said it was reading his mind. He knew what it was thinking, and it knew what he was thinking. It was mad at the dogs. And, it was very strange because following that, he had a poltergeist outbreak in his home. And that's when I started really looking into this paranormal aspect and found out that, most people who see Bigfoot don't see UFOs. Most people who see UFOs don't see Bigfoot. But in some small minority of cases, they perfectly intersect these two phenomena, and sometimes three ghosts.
Oh,
and that's what happened in his case. And I don't know what to make of it. I do think that there is a spiritual Bigfoot, one that's spiritually evolved, can move through dimensions, read people's minds, turn invisible, the whole deal. I don't know.
So let me pick that. Let's discuss that a little more. Because why do you think there's two? How do you not know that there's only one, but they can manipulate supernatural when they want?
Yeah, we can only speculate at this point. It's still
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a pretty new field of research. So it's very hard to say. But I do...
I would look at it as there being two... Okay, not two. There is a species of Bigfoot, and among it there are different races, and maybe some of them can't manipulate.
Or some of them haven't evolved yet.
Yeah, not evolved, but like... some of them might have different traits than others.
Yeah, well, look at the Yeti. We don't get a whole lot of paranormal stuff associated with the Yeti, which is interesting. But yeah,
right?
I don't know the statistics at all because I haven't really looked at the Yeti. I have Bigfoot in my backyard like you do, but we don't hear a whole lot of Yeti reports like we do Bigfoot. And if I remember right, the Yeti is in the Himalayas, correct?
Correct.
Supposedly.
Right.
Well, couldn't that be possible that there's just not a lot of people there in Nepal that are...
Bingo.
Or Tibet that are...
That's actually that's where I was going with that. I don't think as many people travel in the Himalayas to actually encounter a Yeti versus the national forests of the United States and Canada, where you've got more and more people hunting, more people fishing, more people looking for Bigfoot, and tourists that encounter Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, the West Coast is definitely the hot spot of the U.S. California, Oregon, Washington. We got more than anybody. and it's also the tallest.
I don't
biggest.
know, because in the South they have swamp ape, which is, I guess you could say, a cousin of the West Coast Bigfoot. They're just more aggressive, but like I always say, I'd be pissed off if I was really hairy and in 100-degree humidity, too.
But
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
exactly.
Yeah, not to
I
mention-
always considered the southern swamp ape kind of an inbred, pissed-off cousin of the regular Bigfoot.
Right.
Oh my god.
has to be inbred, eh?
Oh man.
So Preston, I have a question for you then. Since have you seen or dealt with like the bad Bigfoot? There's a good one and there's a bad one, and the bad one normally comes with hellhounds.
Yeah, when good Bigfoot go bad, there's definitely a bad aspect to them. They will attack you. There's many reports of kidnapping. I remember I had this lady, she called me up, she's like, I'm having Bigfoot problems, I think it's going to kidnap me. I'm like, no, don't worry, that never happens. I was new to Bigfoot research, and it does happen.
But it's rare, because, Cole and I had a case here where the client that actually called us about it was talking about a Bigfoot that was holding a spear. And that's the first time I've ever heard. That's the first time I've ever heard of that one. And it was watching them drive. Well, as they're driving down this logging road, there was a jacket in the middle of the road. And it was like it was watching the jacket for them to stop and pick it up so we could attack them. That was the description of these two terrified guys that called us. And, that's the first time I've ever heard of
At the same time,
that kind of encounter.
these guys are gold miners.
Right.
Popular trade among gold miners? Moonshine.
Yeah, well,
Okay, but can
Henry,
we?
Well,
I
maybe
feel-
the
I like
maybe the
commercial,
Bigfoot was
but
just
the,
trying to return the jacket that he found.
Right.
But that's
The
what I'm
point is
saying.
this.
Can we really say that it's rare, or do you think that maybe some of these missing cases might be Bigfoot abduction? Like,
Yes, I'm gonna know.
Well, people have been attacked. I know there's cases of people have been pulled out. Well, there's one lady, she was leaving food out for the Bigfoot that was coming around, and one day she didn't do it, and the Bigfoot was mad and started pounding on her house, like, where's my food?
yeah,
I could see that happening.
I can definitely see that
So,
happen.
yeah, please don't feed the Bigfoot. It might
Well,
not.
it's just like your dog in the house or anything else. You don't feed him, he's going to tell you, "Hey, you missed something."
Yeah.
So real quick, getting back to Arnold, the case that Arnold's talking about, it's there's a native tribe that describes this one species of Bigfoot.
Race.
Actually, it's two different races of Bigfoot. One is what is it? Brown. One's black, right, Arnold?
Yes.
Well, that's racist.
And well, no, the darker race actually has hellhounds with it. And that's the first time that's the first time I've ever heard of that belief.
Yeah,
That
I
sounds
haven't
like
heard
Yeti
that.
propaganda. Okay, it's them Yeti supremacists.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't Bigfoot usually doesn't get along with dogs.
But
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
is that
That's what I
where
heard.
Dogman came from?
Who knows?
Is Bigfoot and a hellhound?
Bigfoot got along.
I've
too well
actually
with
got
his
to
dog.
experience that though.
Yeah. Well, I got a totally different thought about it all because of the fact that in my research and some of the stuff that we've done, we've run into the Bigfoot hellhound situation up by Mammoth Cave. We had a case that did have hellhounds and a Bigfoot and paranormal activity that we were dealing with. Not a pleasant thing. Bigfoot kind of also around this area is known to mimic and also run with coyote a lot. He likes to, they're kind of like his pets, and he does use them, and it also gives him a cloak, if you will. People, if he's out there doing things or moving around, what are people thinking? Coyotes, because you're going to hear the coyotes yipping and quiet everything else. When a Bigfoot screams or makes a whoop or a hoop, you will hear dead silence, and then all of a sudden you'll hear coyotes probably coming right back at it, almost like a reply to it.
Well,
that works until you hear a 900-pound coyote.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's like their hoots, their owl. You know, they do mimic. They do different things. They're not just always going "ah" or whoop whoop. You know, they do make different chatter.
They whistle as well.
Right. Yes, they do whistle.
Yeah, when they go through here, they sound like owls.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear them talking back and forth to each other.
Yeah, and
big owls.
One interesting theory with that, though, is that they do migrate in the colder weather, and they actually follow wolf and coyote packs because they'll eat the food.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, now up here, the more aggressive one, you know, from being born in West Virginia, going back there and looking at some of those things there's all different kinds of different types of Bigfoot. So they've all got different names, and the normal Bigfoot, and then you have the Yahoo, which make a totally different sound. They're normally darker. Their face is a lot uglier than the other ones, and they have a very mean disposition. They're the ones that are more happy to throw trees and do bodily harm to you. I'm always into the belief that it is interdimensional. It has its own abilities. From talking to people within tribes and so forth, they think that they can stand directly next to you and wipe your mind in a way that you don't even know he's there. There's several different types of things, and it doesn't make sense to me when you're out in the woods, you see a track, or in one case, Ken Storch was up in Pennsylvania at a place that we had been doing some research on, and they thought they were looking at a bear, and he got kind of close to it and walked through it. This was through a team from Oklahoma that was up there with him also doing research. And as he got closer to it, he noticed that it was a Bigfoot with a deer. And the Bigfoot was bending over at the stream and comes up crunching on a crawdaddy, sucks the crawdaddy in, and then takes down running down the path. As he runs down through the water and everything else, leaving mud prints, all of a sudden, extremely quick, extremely agile, very fast. But they're able to get a casting, but the footprints immediately stopped. It's like he disappeared. Same thing in snow, same thing in other things. So somehow they just leave. They're beamed up. Who knows? If they are working with aliens, or they have been. Maybe one or two of them have been taken by aliens and they're used by the alien group. Who knows? But somehow or another, they are able to communicate with the mind, your mind. They can change the things, the way you perceive or think, and also they have the power to seemingly to just vanish. So, I'm
do you think that maybe some of the regular Bigfoot, when they get beamed up by the aliens, they're given the powers?
I don't know. I mean, it's something that you can look at. I mean, we don't know very much about Bigfoot. No one has ever had a body. No one's ever seen anything to it. It's seen by a lot of people. There's a lot of sightings. We've heard the same thing that Preston's heard and witnessed from witnesses saying that they can be extremely aggressive, and some of them are taken. But the bad thing about not hearing about taken is you never know. You don't. Once you're taken, you got to tell the story that you came back. If you're not, no one's going to know. I mean.
Right? They got the black-eyed child.
Those are the tabloids in the grocery store line, I was returned by Bigfoot.
I know there's a case in Colorado, a Colorado ranch, where a guy came upon a landed UFO, and there was human-looking ETs, and they were ordering this Bigfoot around like it was a pet.
Yes.
I know a few cases like that, actually.
And that's the other side of it is we have heard the cases where people see a landed UFO and they see a Bigfoot come out and he collects water and soil samples, gets back on the craft takes off. Mm-hmm. So, it can go either way.
Well, see, with those sightings, what I'm wondering is if they use him because he can breathe in our atmosphere. And maybe they can't.
Without a suit?
Yeah. So they use him to go down and collect the mineral samples and this and that without having to put on suits and go down themselves.
But then how come not use him for abductions?
Like to abduct people?
Yeah.
Well, I think he does. Like,
they're not stealthy.
We have these people missing all over the place.
That's a good point.
He could totally be grabbing them and throwing them in.
Yeah.
Maybe they use them kind of like security. Mm-hmm. If there's a little alien walking around, someone might walk up to it or try to smack it around or shoot it, and you see a Bigfoot, people are just going to leave.
Right.
Well, they definitely have some kind of relationship, but Bigfoot's been around for hundreds of years. I mean, we know that.
Yeah,
right.
Hundreds and hundreds. Yeah. The ancients, the tribes talk about them for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And we don't even know if back in the Paleo time and some of the areas that are noted as mounds, if they're not buried with them, or there's some kind of large, gigantic creature that has been buried in mounds. Is it a giant or is it a Bigfoot? Who knows?
Or is a Bigfoot a giant? We have no idea, really.
Yeah, right, exactly. We don't have an idea of what it is. But we do have the history that goes back that does it, but it's been kept so well secret.
Yeah, I know there's a Bigfoot UFO account reaching back to 1888 about a cattleman who was living with the Native Americans in Northern California, and they were taking meat out into the forest, and he followed them, and they were feeding this Bigfoot, and they told him that he had actually come out of a UFO, and that this UFO would land periodically, and Bigfoot would come out. So there's been a relationship going on for, well, that's 120 years at least.
Right, exactly. So, it makes you think so much because currently right now, and I also agree with Preston on the different species. There are different formats of it. Some of them are berry eaters. I think that more of them on the West Coast seem to be happy to eat what they find there. I think some of them are more aggressive and more carnivorous, and they go after deer.
I think they're omnivores, though. I think they eat both.
Just like us.
Yeah, I agree the same way. That's the way that I agree. I just know that some people have, and then there's the other ones that believe that they are completely a different species and they have nothing to do with anything. Mm-hmm. And the story is still untold until we find out more information, and that's the best thing about doing research. You guys are going up and doing more research and so forth like that. So if Cole doesn't come back, we can talk about him disappearing. And,
wow, we're back to the Cole disappearing part. I see how it is.
Hey, ask your question.
That's it.
Ask my question?
Ask your question.
Okay. So there's a new movie on Netflix. We're going to continue with the Bigfoot theme here.
My first one is Bigfoot too. So go ahead.
There's a new movie on Netflix for kids called Bigfoot Family.
Ooh, I like that one.
Do you?
I do.
I absolutely fucking hated it.
Get off my property.
Do you think?
Get off my land.
Do you think it's okay for them to use creatures like Bigfoot or any of the other cryptids or spirits or UFOs to progress a political agenda?
Yeah.
Especially through lies.
No, you're right. If you take the political agenda out, it was a cool cartoon.
No, the only thing that was cool was the moose.
Well, yeah.
Take everything else out.
Yeah,
because even cool. Bigfoot, they made Bigfoot human.
I didn't like that part. Have you guys seen that yet?
Oh, there's also
No.
cases of feral humans running around in the woods.
Yeah, the only thing feral about him was he couldn't use video editing software.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like literally they took him and they gave him sideburns like Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh golly. I'm glad I haven't seen that.
It's a kid's movie.
No, it's a kid's movie. It's strictly a kid's movie.
But it literally makes literally all production of oil is bad. The only way that oil companies do fracking is by exploding bombs into the earth. Like,
yeah. Well, that is a politically motivated.
It was.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think it's okay to use these creatures in that sense?
No, I don't.
No, I don't think so. I think it's I don't think it's right to use anything in that way, but.
And especially,
unfortunately,
I don't think it's right to indoctrinate kids with a cartoon that has a political purpose.
Exactly.
Right. All it is just part of the social conditioning that we're all seeing, being more aware of day by day.
Mm-hmm. Friend, it just the stuff like that absolutely pisses me off.
Yeah.
Friend, there are a few things I do not take kindly to. Any cartoon that tells you that Santa is, or any mythological creature absolutely isn't real. Mm-hmm. I honestly believe that all the producers of those shows need to be strung by their nuts. And not just for that creature's day of the year, but 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. Friend, anything like that.
Well, there's not much you could watch on TV today or in movies and not get some kind of political message undertones.
Absolutely.
And that's why I don't watch much TV.
There's a few, I think, still.
What?
Like what? I thought...
I would say Scooby-Doo.
Dude,
unless you have a political agenda against cake and sandwiches, there's not much on there.
I'm sorry, but you could chalk that up to the MASH debate right now. Just say it.
What MASH debate? And I dare you to keep saying masturbate on the real...
Masturbate?
Yeah. Keep going,
Yeah, we're only going down that slippery slope. Look out.
Yeah. All right, so my first question, which is lead right still into the Bigfoot theme, with the seeming rise in Bigfoot interest. We have more Bigfoot groups forming. We have more Bigfoot YouTube channels. We have...
shows?
Bigfoot shows. Do you think the chance of finding Bigfoot with all this going on is going to be greater? Or do you think it's just going to be another mess like Paranormal TV brought us into?
I think we're completely off base with all of it. I don't think we have a chance in hell of finding him.
No. I don't either.
I don't know. I
don't think that necessarily the shows are going to do something wonderful that they're going to find Bigfoot, but the fact that they're out in the woods and they do have cameras, they might run across something. I don't think getting out in the woods and banging on trees and yelling into the woods is going to help, but
no.
Chances are they might run across something. Who knows? They're going to catch something on film if they have, cameras out there rather than not cameras out there. So,
but I do firmly believe Bigfoot will show himself to you if he wants to. Now, does he want to? No.
Someone needs to tell Bigfoot that's not okay. You can go to jail for that.
I do, however, think the answer to getting actual evidence is going to the drone.
Really? You would think a drone?
I do.
See,
they're getting quieter and quieter drones.
Yes, but if
that's true,
does have that. We noticed with game cams and different things
right.
He has the electronic abilities to black out.
He does,
things.
but if you get one with a high enough elevation that's quiet enough, that's got thermal capacity, you're going to pick up a heat signature.
Yeah,
well, they had one in the daytime. It was actually a camera up on top of a tree, and it was focused on an eagle nest. Mm-hmm. And they had some baby eagles that they were watching. It was one of those, nature ones that's out there. But they did catch something walking through the woods underneath that didn't look like a hunter, didn't look like a backpacker.
I think I saw that
something big and hairy.
Right.
It was quite a ways up in the tree, so maybe he didn't notice it, and that's why they got him on camera.
On Highway 530, he threw a log like a javelin.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I saw
and
that.
Hit the car. Like, dead on. You honestly think he is not sitting out there taking out drones with a stick?
Oh, he could if he saw. But no, you know, we have heard cases where people are terrified of something in the woods, getting onto the highway and having logs, not trees falling down, but actually logs thrown through their windshield. So yeah, they pissed off Bigfoot.
Like, you'd think we would have got something in the mid-'80s, if that was true, that these things were going to help. As soon as people saw the Star Wars movies,
right,
everyone went out looking for Bigfoot on one guy's account of seeing him. And it was because they were filming the scenes from Endor for Star Wars, and they saw Chewbacca. And he got shot at the third day of filming.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found him because, like, really, they're not going to move an entire camera crew like they would, like Bigfoot would leave. You know?
Right.
But, even
chances are it's going to be a camera, dash cam.
From
a lot of people in cars.
Yeah.
A lot of reports over the years have been people saying something ran across the road. There have been a few, but that was when it first came out, and they were blurry and not good. But you're getting some HD, high definition dash cams now, and they might catch something good.
Yeah, I could see a dash cam. A droid, no, or a drone, no. I honestly
you don't think so.
I have a feeling they have better hearing than us.
Probably.
So even if we can't hear the drone, I'm pretty sure they still can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they might hear it, but that might make them just look up.
Well, even if you're thinking about the UFO connection, how do you know the UFO is not going to take out the drone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got evidence right there.
I think that
abducted. Think of how many drones people have lost.
My drone
and
got
literally
abducted.
Cannot find.
Like,
yeah, there are a lot of.
They just disappeared. There is no sign of them. And some of these guys actually can hike and track, and they looked for that thing for hours and never found it.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That goes to the that leads me into the portal theory that sometimes there's some things up in the air that may open and pop up and maybe it's flying somewhere else until the batteries go dead.
Or Barry, there's two teenage aliens on the moon playing on the backside of the moon, playing with a drone.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
They got a new toy.
Hey, look.
Yeah.
I brought you a toy from Earth.
Yeah.
I think that the only thing that all of these Bigfoot shows are going to do is give us a lot of people out in the woods that aren't used to the woods that are going to end up getting lost, hurt, or disappear because they don't know the trails properly.
Yep.
Every noise they hear is going to freak them out.
And that's what pisses me off about paranormal, Bigfoot, all the TV shows is, we said this on the show before. Sure, got a really cool guy in khaki shorts and a water bottle going, oh, look, I'm going to find Bigfoot. Well, yeah, he's got a paramedic, he's got wilderness survival trainers, he's got a whole crew around him. But, Jim and Bob over here, I'm going to go find Bigfoot. He's wearing khaki shorts and a water bottle. I don't need nothing else. And, yeah, they're the ones going to get lost because they don't teach you. You need medical training. You need at least to have a first aid kit. You need to have some kind of wilderness survival.
If nothing else, you need at least a trail map and a compass.
Yeah.
I think there is a more serious issue than people getting lost.
I think there'll be more 411.
All these people just got $1,400 stimulus checks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they need protection when they go out into the woods.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
You're going to end up with a lot of people.
Well, the thing is, you don't always have to go out to have... Sometimes nature finds you. Like, I'm sitting out here right now. Yes. I've got 4 deer that are standing about 40 feet away from me.
Right.
They kind of know I'm here, but they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really fair.
You know, and I've got cameras out. I don't know if they're maybe on one of the cameras, but...
Well, at some point, someone's going to get the conclusive evidence. I mean, I think it's going to happen.
Joe?
Probably going to be a semi that hits one. The guy stops, pulls it over, throws it in the back of his truck, and that's what we're going to have.
Yeah.
Joe, that statement, though, wasn't really fair.
Which one?
You live on the side of a mountain.
In a bunker.
Top of the mountain.
Nature shits on your doorstep, okay? People in downtown Seattle, they don't
I see more animals than I do people.
Yeah, you see more animals during the show. Hey, look, there goes the fox.
Yeah.
Well, and in my opinion, I'm with Carla, and I think that it's kind of crazy. As the paranormal starts phasing out, and you see less and less ghost shows, and they're not performing as great as they should be. Those people look for something else to try to become famous or make it easy living, and so you'll see more Facebook live videos out in the woods if they can get a signal, and you'll see they're trying to gain their popularity or whatever they want to try to achieve. And the bad thing about it is that Bigfoot is whether it's interdimensional or a true being, it is something that is to be respected. And if they get mad at you, then we're going to see them going after humans like no tomorrow, because what do we got? We've got people that are saying, well, let's put a hunting season up. Let's do this. Let's do that.
Yeah, Oklahoma's
got
the hunting season.
Yeah, so all of a sudden now Bigfoot sees more people in the woods. They're more congested. They're threatened. Just like me or Joe. Joe's sitting on his property up there in that bunker. And all of a sudden he never sees anybody. Next time he's out there, he sees like 6 or 7 people just walking around out there.
Nobody will see those 6 people ever again.
No, absolutely. I was about to say, Joe. Joe would be using pointy sticks. Now, and that's the difference too. The Bigfoot around Joe, no Joe.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about that.
They know where he's at. They know what he's doing.
Right, but, I mean, just like any other animal, if
they're scared of them too.
Right.
Then they're
so there's a lot of aspects to take into consideration.
I think it depends. Like the Bigfoot up here, behind my house, they know me. They're all my family. They aren't going to attack us. They're going to attack the stranger. I do believe. I believe you're right. It's like any other creature. You go up. The more we build in the mountains, you're invading in cougar space. You're invading in bear space. You're in their backyard. Well, they're not in yours now.
You're killing off their habitat.
Yeah.
So the further and further you get into their habitat, and the less space they get, the more aggressive they're going to get towards
Absolutely.
you.
So you might see.
It's animal nature.
You might see more Bigfoot attacks because of that.
Here's the thought to that. If more people are going out in the woods and running around trying to find Bigfoot, I see where more 411 missing will start appearing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with that, too. And you know what
they're
pisses
not
me
all
off,
bad,
too?
though.
They're
not all bad. There are cases of people being rescued, too. Being lost in the woods and brought back home. And,
I took that the other way.
The kid that was rescued by the bear. Remember that?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that little 3-year-old or whatever that got rescued by his friendly bear friend.
And I think what pisses me off...
the same thing goes to if you're out there and they are nice and you're not penetrating the woods and a 3-year-old gets lost. They have the ability to be able to say, okay, we can help this one or whatever. You know? But if
and a
all of a sudden...
3-year-old, they're not going to perceive a threat from the same way that they are a 40-year-old man
because if
holding
they
a bunch
are
of guns.
using communication skills and they are knowledgeable, they already know fright. They know all those emotions. They know those things.
Yeah.
So they know that there's trouble. If they're out there not, and they're able to read your mind and everything else, and you're out there goofing around, and those people increase by tenfold, they're going to come back and, Curly right now, why do you think they throw rocks at you? Why do you think that they do the things that they do? People have been by streams and they hear large kaplunks of
But there's two different there's two different types to that. Sometimes if they know you, you go up in the same area all the time for like a few months and they get to know you as a person, they will toss a rock at you in play. And you toss rocks back and forth. I've heard of this. The other time...
That happens here.
And the other time, absolutely. They will throw a rock with the intent of harm because they want you the hell out of their property, out of their territory.
I don't know if it was with the intent of harm. I think it's more like a warning shot.
It is until you ignore it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's right.
It
is until you ignore it.
You shoot one up in the air. Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing. They're like, "Hey, no, this is my space. Get out of here."
Like the guy that ignored it the first two times when it landed at his feet. He said, "Okay, I'm out of here. Bye bye."
Yeah.
I just imagine two Bigfoot sitting there. Fred one saying, "Let's throw a warning shot." So he throws it. He hits the guy. He's like, "Oh shit, we hit the guy! Gotta run!"
Well, it's kind of like
lady I interviewed. A lady I interviewed. She had a Bigfoot stalking her house. Her friend saw it. Her son saw it. She thought it liked her. It came up to her house one day, and there was a big clunk on the roof. They got up the next morning. There was this giant boulder on the roof. Took 2 guys to take it off. It gave her this giant boulder. It would leave dead animals on her doorstep. It really liked her. She was
leaving gifts.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, PBR's in the chat room. He's asking, have any of you guys seen the documentary Discovering Bigfoot? And do you know if it's legit?
I
haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
PBR, what channel is that on?
I'll write it down, PBR, and I'll check it out, and we'll discuss it soon.
Next roundtable, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it in the chat, in our chat, and
okay.
Yeah, let us know what channel is it on, so we can find it. Well,
I think I've seen it.
Discovering Bigfoot is a history channel.
I think I've seen it on YouTube, but I didn't watch it. Because honestly, it's like paranormal TV. You go on YouTube anymore and you punch in Bigfoot. 11 billion people have a damn channel on it, and it's like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Eeny, meeny,
Bigfoot
miny,
in
mo.
costumes playing saxophones.
Yeah, that too. And they call him Daryl. Well, wait, that's just up here. So we do have the...
back with the thing with the rocks,
okay.
I've never had the big boulders or logs or anything thrown at me here.
Right.
But I have had things where I was sitting out here, smoking a cigarette, just relaxing, and a little pebble will jump, land right next to me, and about the size of a quarter, just little ones. Mm-hmm. I think they come into the woods and they sit and watch me. It's kind of like television for them. And they get tired of he's not doing anything. I don't know, throw a rock at him. They just throw a rock. Get up and do something, man.
Well, that's because your beard is as big as them. Oh,
okay.
Joe, and I got to tell you something. I agree with that theory because if they know you, they're going to throw something small at you. If you're bothering them or they want to play with you, they're going to throw something small at you. Yeah. When they start tossing trees and everything else at you, or a large boulder,
that's your warning.
That's when
I get out the big sticks.
Yeah,
right?
That's when okay, time to go inside, time to leave the area because they don't want you there. Because the next move you may not be ever seen or heard from again.
That's when Joe goes from pointy sticks to pointy logs. So PBR said it is free on YouTube. And so, yes, I have. I don't think I watched it, but I have. I might even have it downloaded. I just haven't watched it yet. So we'll check it out. And get back to you on it. Even Animal Planet did a series on Bigfoot. And they kind of came back with it's a brown bear in, I can't remember what country.
Ghost train!
Who's got a train?
Ghost train.
Oh, it's mine. It's about 4 miles away. And it's one of those nights that is kind of like And things are carrying extremely far. I have my window open a little bit, so I apologize.
No worries.
I was going to say, we don't have a train here, but we live in a haunted area, so it could be a ghost train. But
okay,
yeah.
I think I have an answer for PBR without even actually watching the movie.
What's that?
Because first of all, it is listed as a movie.
Okay.
But has anyone ever heard of Survivor Man?
Yep.
So it's one of his co-hosts.
Les Stroud.
Yes. So the thing is, Les Stroud had an issue where he was actually caught editing to look like he was there the entire time, but he actually wasn't.
Okay. I kind of know Les Stroud, but...
So, yeah, IMDb lists it as a mockumentary.
Okay, so I would take that as it's not really legit.
Because they actually say they have a talk with a real Bigfoot.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I don't feel that this is legit.
Nope. Without even watching it.
It's not that new. There's a new show on History Channel. I think they're in their second season where people go out and they live in the woods looking for Bigfoot. It's not that, is it?
No, that one's In Search of Bigfoot.
This is a 90-minute documentary movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually. So how do they put it here? A real-life interaction between a Bigfoot creature, wilderness experts, PhDs, and other renowned experts and researchers of the Bigfoot enigma. So they actually have what they claim to be a live interaction between like 5 different people
and Bigfoot on live TV.
Oh wait.
Okay. Huh. Now I'm going to have to watch it because I'm going to have
First
to see
user review says that the DNA would be refutable. The videos don't look real. No facial movement at all. Looks like a mask.
Okay.
Okay.
See, and I guess that's kind of the point of what my question was, and that's why I referred to as a mess. Do you think you're going to see more of these videos editing their crap, giving out fake evidence, all in the name of clicks and likes and whatnot?
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Oh, yes.
I mean, there's people doing what they call them now, the deep fakes,
right?
Where they can have someone that's famous, like what's the one that's Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
They show a guy doing Tom Cruise deep fakes.
Oh,
well, it's not going to be long, and there's going to be Bigfoot deep fakes and alien deep fakes.
Yeah.
It's going to get harder and harder to tell what's real and what's not.
Well, it's the same thing in the UFO field. I mean, the UFO field has been plagued with CGI videos. I remember back a few years ago, and I'm sure Preston remembers the Haiti version.
Sure.
I mean, it was an awesome video to watch, but it was, definitely CGI. I mean, some of these people are pretty talented. They make it very good.
That's what's so damn irritating is you could see an actual, Bigfoot video, and everyone's going to say, "Oh nope, it's faked," and it could be real. I mean, how do you know what's real and what's not? Other than some of us know what to look for. But, I mean, how do we know?
Yeah. There are still people arguing about the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Right.
I think it's real. But there's people out there that they're absolutely certain it's a fake.
Right.
Yeah, how do you prove it one way or the other, though?
Yeah, that's
you
the
can't.
thing. Like, I don't take a lot of hold with that one, but at the same time, I can't prove it's not either. Like, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I don't believe in that one.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not at all.
Right.
And there's no way I'd ever be able to prove that it wasn't.
No.
Number one, it's way too long.
Well, and again, there's no way for us to prove it's real. I mean, it's just another one of those, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
You and me, Cole, 10 paces with dueling pistols.
What we need is a multiple witness sighting with,
That's, exactly.
Okay, but I get to load my own.
What happened to the pointy sticks? You went to pistols. Wow,
that's a pointy stick. It's a small stick, but it's still pointy.
Right.
It's still a pointy stick.
Very pointy.
And so before we go to break, actually we have about 5 minutes. But I do want to plug. We have the Marble Mount Sasquatch Festival. I believe August 29th and 30th.
Sure. You're setting that up, so I don't know that one's on you.
Yes, it's at the end of August.
Yeah. And so we are going to be there as S4. We are the only radio that's going to be interviewing the speakers. And we'll have our S4 booth there selling mugs and stickers and whatnot. And we also have our Fourth Moon Paranormal booth there as well.
Has she got any guest speakers yet, do you know? That she knows are guaranteed?
She has like 2 or 3.
Yeah, we're still...
It's still getting locked in.
Yeah.
So I don't have a whole lot. Just mark on your calendar, if you're local especially. It'll be at the Marble Mountain Community Center, which is just about 30 minutes from us here.
Community Hall.
Community Hall. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Cool.
So, Preston, we have like 5 minutes left. What's your first question tonight?
Preston, you around?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry, what's my first question?
Yep, what's your first question tonight?
One thing I wonder about is the smell of Bigfoot. Is this intentional, or is this something that's, they have control over?
I've always wondered about.
I'll tell you, my own experience, I think they have control over it because I've heard them going through the woods here. I've yet to put eyes on one, but I've heard them going through the woods. I've never smelt it. But I've been in the house before, in the winter, all the windows shut, doors shut, and there was such a god-awful stench that came through, and it was like a wet dog, rotten meat, sulfur smell.
Right.
And, if they smelled like that all the time, people would be finding them everywhere.
Yeah,
so do you think it's kind of like a skunk then?
Yeah,
like
I'm about
a
to say,
mechanism?
I do think it's kind of like a musky, like a Bigfoot musk that is kind of like you said, kind of like a skunk spray. Because, I've never smelled it, but I've had 3 different Bigfoot knock experiences. But I've never smelled it. And the first encounter I had, it couldn't have been more than 30 feet away when I heard the knock, but I couldn't see anything there. So, I think it's a selected smell, essentially.
The only thing I could figure is that when they're going through the woods, they don't do that all the time. Like you said, it's like a skunk. They can control it. But whatever it was I smelled, something came up to the house. So maybe it was putting this out there to let us know, don't come outside.
All right.
Well, do you think it's like some part of the mating ritual? I'm
maybe.
Just saying.
Maybe. I think it's part of, like, if they're upset or mad at something, because I've been out where they've been and haven't smelled them, and then all of a sudden go out and, can't even stand it to be there and stuff. And I think they're upset, they're on to something, like Joe said, telling you, get away, don't come out here, they're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're coming near the house, don't come out.
Exactly.
We're around.
That makes sense. Yeah,
hey, believe me, I didn't go outside.
No.
Or do you think that it's like them telling you that there's danger here, go away? So, like, they are trying to help you out, and they're going, hey, like, there's a cougar right over here. I'm going to release this smell so you move.
Oh.
Or the cougar moves.
That's possible.
Yeah,
I'm just glad humans don't have this ability.
Right?
Yeah, I can see them in the woods, and if there's a cougar out there or a bear or something that's threatening them, they might feel threatened, and they'll put that out to keep it away.
Right.
And we happen to catch a whiff of that. That means, hey, there's danger in the area. I like that idea.
Yeah. Well, it lends more credence to Bigfoot is watching out for humans as well, or maybe their favorite humans. Like, in your case, they know you, Joe, because you live there. So, yeah, they're warning Joe because, well, don't come outside. There's a cougar, a bear, or whatever. What do you think, Barry? You're quiet over there.
Yeah, I'm being real quiet because I've smelled the smell all over the place. If you get close to one, you're going to smell it. If he gets close to you, you're going to smell it. Even in paranormal, when you're dealing with the spirit of a Civil War soldier or something like that, they will smell like sulfur and sweat because they didn't take showers. They wore wool. It is a very, you always know when one of those spirits are around, if he was in that way. Bigfoot, same way. I've come off the back porch. I've walked into the areas. If you are not near a Bigfoot, you're not going to smell it. You may be in his area. He may be somewhere else. You're not going to see it. But if you are close to a Bigfoot, or every time, and I have seen Bigfoot before, you definitely know that he's near the area because there is that intense odor. I don't know if I've ever seen a Bigfoot bathing in a creek or anything else, but I do know that that odor is very distinct. And it is not a skunk. It's something totally different. It is a combined, and I like the way Joe described it. It is rotten meat smelling. It is sulfur smelling, and it is definitely wet dog smelling. And obviously, being out, and just it as a dog itself is out all the time. It's been, if you don't bathe your dog regular, you walk in and dog here.
Right.
It's the same thing with Bigfoot. The way he is,
everything
the hair,
stinks.
the temperature, everything is going to stink. It's not going to be, they don't have underarm deodorant obsession and everything else. They're just squirting all over themselves. So
there we go. I'm going to leave some underarm deodorant at my next gifting site.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, all our primates are smelly, right? I mean, gorillas.
Everything about it. And you're 100% right, Preston. You go to the zoo, you go to those areas, and it doesn't matter. There is an odor
things that people don't think about is penguins. Penguins stink.
You stink, Joe. You stink. I speak for the penguin.
That's it. We're tied cold to a tree.
Yeah.
Hey, if you ever smelled my brother's feet, you'd think it was a Bigfoot.
But what you were saying about the Civil War guys, I think there's some of those in my kid's room.
Oh, God.
3 teenage boys in a room.
No, those are just teenage
There is a lot of sulfur smell, like the pits of hell mixed with sweat.
That's the teenage boy smell.
Yeah, that's it. So,
It's horrible.
we all have that. We all know about that. So,
Maybe the only Bigfoot that smells that way, then, is a pubescent Bigfoot. It's going through a change.
It's just like this. I mean, if we don't take a bath and we walk around in public, we have an odor.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right. It's no different. It's the same thing.
But you don't notice with the 6-foot social distancing anymore.
Right, exactly. Especially if you're carrying a point of steak also.
And on that note, we do have to go to break. Arnold, you're up next for your first question when we come back.
Okay.
So stay tuned for hour 2 of March Roundtable.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S-4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Hi, and welcome back to Hour 2 of March Roundtable. So, Arnold, what's your first question tonight?
My first question is like dealing with paranormal. Watchers, I asked Barry this in our chat room, but what I want to know is who are they? What do they want or do? And this pertains to my son, who once I described it to Barry, he said it was probably a watcher, and I just want to know who are they? What do they want? What are they doing?
I think it depends on the context, because I think there's different cultures, different traditions, different beliefs have the term watcher for different things. On the alien side, there's watchers. On the fae side, there's watchers. I mean, so it depends.
Now, are you talking about this in a biblical sense or in an extraterrestrial sense?
This thing, when my son is walking, it's up in front of him. It will turn and look at him, but it won't let him get close.
Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything quite like that, really. I mean,
it never lets him get close enough to.
Now, is it like a full form apparition, or is it something more like a shadow person?
I believe what he said was like a full form thing, and that it's around quite often.
How's it feel? Does it feel malevolent? Does it feel like it's just watching? Does it feel like a guardian?
Does he feel compelled to follow it?
It kind of gives him the creeps, because he'll see it looking at him, like look back at him, and it just stays there until he gets closer, and it moves on a little bit to stay far enough away.
So it does interact.
Yeah, but not. It's just like there, and then but you're not going to get close enough to me to really see or do anything with me.
Well, kids are far more likely to see spirits and ghosts than adults.
Well, he's an adult.
He's an adult.
Oh.
He's mid-20s, and he has a lot of it. But
so, is he around native land when he sees?
Yes, and I'll say yes and no. But he just with his dreams when he has them takes them to native lands.
And no, he is, because the entire West Coast was native lands at one point. So
yeah,
they did all travel fairly often.
But
the whole country was native land at one point.
Right.
So is it? I'm sorry. Is this over in Eastern Washington?
Yes, it's in Ellensburg.
Okay.
By Central Washington University. It's around him there. It's around him when he goes home.
Okay, Kayla knows about that area.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's my stomping ground.
So what would be so knowing the area, what would be your context of a watcher?
Then no, it's not.
No, wouldn't be what? What are you talking about?
It wouldn't be native land, like not highly trafficked.
It's not highly trafficked native land. No.
Okay.
It wasn't highly trafficked.
Well, does he see other spirits as well? I mean, is this the only type of paranormal experience he has?
No. He sees a lot more.
Yeah, that would fit in then. Yeah, perhaps he's got mediumistic abilities, and someone's just trying to communicate.
Yeah, so it sounds more like that your son has a special ability there, and somebody is trying to get information across to him, or trying to show him something.
Yeah,
or trying to get information.
Could it be somebody astral traveling and he's picking up on it?
That wouldn't be an astral thing. But now the other side of that, with being a watcher, is as pagans, and I've talked about this on the show before too, is sometimes shadows are spies sent by a pagan. The difference is normal shadows won't interact. This kind of shadow will, but the minute you recognize it, they're gone. And with this kind, if you're astral, you'll actually see an energy trail going from that shadow back to its source.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference. I don't think that's the case in your son's watcher, though. Now, the other kind of watcher comes from the extraterrestrial side, and that they are supposed to be an ancient race called the Watcher. Only here to watch over, and correct me if I'm wrong, Barry, but I think the extraterrestrial watchers watch over, not necessarily watch over humans, but they watch abductees.
They watch over, there's two different forms of watches when you talk about it that way. Because of the fact that and it gets kind of hairy, and it's a weird explanation for people that don't see this, but there are ancients that are roaming around, and if you believe in past lives and other things like that, you've lived several different lives, and that watcher does watch you because of your past life experiences. And he will stay away from you. He is not allowed to interact with you in any way. So if you would try to get close to him or anything else, he is immediately going to be far away. I have a lot of psychics that say, oh, you get this terrible black thing behind you that is standing there. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything because he's a watcher. He is taking information down. He is kind of like writing a book and keeping track of me or whatever. There also is the ancient alien type of watcher, which is deals with abductees and their families that have gone back several years, because most abductees are multi-generational. And they're following that, and they are also ensuring that there is safety, and they keep informed. And they also do not interact with you in any manner or any way. All they do is watch. They are there to observe. It's kind of like watching, a Highlander. Back in the Highlander movies,
Right.
There was watchers there, and they can't do anything. They just kind of watch what's going on and keep what you do and everything else, and kind of keep a law on it.
So
if he gets in trouble or if he does something wrong, the watcher may be able to guide him out of that.
Right.
So here's what happens when this thing's around. He'll sometimes hear wind chimes, even when he's inside a car or a building when it's around. That's it's anywhere he goes unless it's midday. He's found that his hearing gets increased when it's around, and he's had dreams about going to the mountain, like go to the mountain kind of thing, and his wolf guide animal is guiding it, wants to guide him to the mountain.
Does he meditate?
Not that I know of.
Tell him to meditate.
Yeah.
That to me is Fae, a Fae watcher. And if he's hearing wind chimes, I would be prone to say it's an elemental of air. Why, I don't know. But tell him to meditate and see if he can communicate it through meditation.
Yeah, and if he cannot, it's very funny. They do send you on a path. We have a life path, believe it or not. And they can ensure that you stay on that path and can guide you in certain ways so that you can learn more about certain things. So obviously it's not there to harm him in any way.
No,
he'd already be harmed.
Yeah, and he says it's not Fey level or hellhoundish. He says it's like shadow people he has seen in the past, but more fluid.
Yeah, one of the bad things, and I was going to make a question of it, I don't know if I will or not, but it is nowadays we have the monitoring systems, if you will, targeting of individuals that may have had experiences with ET, paranormal experiences,
right,
and so forth, kind of like the MK Ultra, some of the other things, cyber torture, if you will, where things are watching, and it comes along with, like you can have different things that happen to your body. Like you can have, you'll have controlled dreams. You'll be, have forced walking visions. You'll have artificial tinnitus, ringing in your ears or hearing sounds. They may be reading or broadcasting thoughts into your head. All that kind of stuff, too. So, there's different ways it can cause that. And if he's having certain things, I'd ask him about does he have racing heart? Does his heart race when it's around it? Does he have certain kind of pains? Does he have certain sensations like feeling electrical shock? Is he sleep deprived? That's all part of all that situation. So there could be several different things.
See, now, me personally, I've always thought of watchers as being more like social scientists. Okay? They watch you in different types of social interactions, different types of experiences, and basically just document what's going on and how you reacted to what. So I've always thought of them as kind of like the social scientists of their race, and they come down and they just check it out and they go, it was really weird because this time they reacted this way instead of this way.
And this one's got a silver thing hanging from his ear.
Yeah, different things like that. And I think that they do follow people from generation to generation to see the social impact and the social change in a specific family line.
Right.
Is anybody hearing the dog whining? I apologize.
It's Barry again.
All right, that's it.
Yeah, it's me again. So
Give him a mic.
I'm going to. For some reason or other, it's a very strange night in Bearland.
He has something to say, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, exactly. He's like going, oh. He wants to be on the air, so hold on just a second while I fix this.
All right, yeah, so Art will just keep us updated and definitely have him meditate and see if anything changes with meditation, because he might actually communicate with him.
Joe left. I don't know why.
Where did you go, Joe?
He hung up on us.
Rude.
He said call him back.
Well, why would I do that if he didn't want to talk to us in the first place?
Joe.
I'm back.
Hi, Joe.
Oh, you lost the show.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right.
I just now saw that, Joe.
Yeah.
Damn pointy sticks.
Now, I was wondering on the question about the watcher. He said that it moves away from him if he tries to get close to it. Is there any other interaction other than wanting him to go to the mountains or anything? I mean, is there any type of interaction? Does he try talking to it, or?
Well, he can't get close enough. He wants to get closer to it just to see, but it won't let him.
So with
like,
that,
he hasn't talked to it, or?
No.
So with that,
the watcher won't talk to you.
Try mental projection.
I'd try something, yeah. Talk to us, mental projection.
Projection.
I still think we should ask Barry's dog what he thinks.
What's your dog think, Barry?
Yeah. Well, right now he's.
He answered. There you go.
He's like, don't talk for me.
Yeah. Hey, excuse me. I'll handle this.
So what's your first question of the night, Barry?
That's a good question. Is my dog? What's happening in my house? Holy cow.
Let you answer the question.
Let's use the first question as we'll get into the... I'll make it a simple one on UFOs. I'd like to ask... we know that the government side information and with Preston... Oh, wait. Calm down. He has his own question to ask.
Must be aliens.
Yes. The possibility of UFOs, government is keeping a secret. Mm-hmm. Michael Sherrod has done a lot of different stuff on it. As we are investigating UFOs, we know that. What's your thought? Are they all interdimensional craft, or do we actually reverse
engineered them?
Yeah, reverse engineered these crafts, and we have these flying also.
No.
Yeah, it's my understanding we do.
I think we've reverse engineered them to a point, but I don't think we've made our own actual.
I don't think any of the UFOs we see are craft. So the TR-3B, I think, is an exception to that rule, because we hands down have a TR-3B, which is your triangular interplanetary craft. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we've, look at the Germans back in the 40s. They got 5 feet off the ground. I think it's too technical. I think it's science beyond what we can accomplish. I honestly do.
Well, let's take it to the next step, since we did the shows on MJ12 and Paperclip and Antarctica. Do you believe that the aliens could assist us in that program so that we are more advanced?
I think, hands down, they could.
I think that's possible, yeah.
But would they? I mean, the talking monkeys are a threat to. We have toys that can destroy the galaxy. Through nukes and whatnot. And we're a very barbaric race. So.
Well, it depends on what species you're dealing with.
Well, no, absolutely.
Because there's an agenda behind certain ones, and there's other ones that do not. We do know that there are definitely different alien species.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's possible that the aliens have said, "Okay, you guys want to fly around like we do? Here you go." They didn't give us a Lamborghini, but they gave us the Flintmobile. It still moves, but it can't do what theirs can.
Okay, there's a whole thing with this though. Because do you know what the hardest issue they are having with us going to Mars is, and like creating a civilization on Mars right now?
Mm-hmm. Tacos.
NASA, SpaceX, all of them, they can't figure out how to have sex in space.
So if there's no procreation, there is no reason to start a colony somewhere.
Because of the non-gravity issue, there is no actual way. It doesn't work. They do not.
Sperm would float away.
Yeah.
Oh,
is there a program we could sign up for to experiment and try?
But think about it. If that is the biggest issue we're having right now, there's got to be a possibility we've already figured out how to get there in a faster amount of time than 6 months.
Right.
Well, we've had ion engines. We've had the capability of ion engines since we sent up the first probes. I mean, honestly.
You said probes. Coming from the other.
No, jeez.
Get in, we're going probing.
Wow. So we can't have sex in space, so they're trying to figure out an answer to that?
Yes.
Wow. Now, is it just sex in space in general, or is it just the trip there? I mean, because theoretically, you're not supposed to have sex driving down the freeway, but people do it all the time.
Even Mars,
yeah.
It's just once you get there, you can have all the fun you want, right?
Mars's atmosphere is still too. There isn't enough gravity on Mars itself to actually allow us to do it.
Okay.
Our bodies will not react in the same way, and therefore, for example, they don't know if that is enough gravity for a woman's eggs to fall.
Okay. So we got another
Well, now
issue.
you're talking two different things here. One is having sex, and one is procreating.
Both. Like, but like the sex part, it's because you can't hold yourselves together enough.
Oh, where there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
They are creating
They'll figure it out.
apparatus for that one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also the fact that it's literally, you can't get pregnant in space, apparently.
So there's probably
no.
probably a $50 trillion black budget project just to figure out how to have sex in space.
Oh,
By the way, just so you know, I'm not a weirdo. My wife makes me watch these things at night.
So I got an issue with that, though.
Of course you do.
Even if you could have sex in space,
Right.
even if the egg could get fertilized, okay, there is no way with the gravity that we have in space and with the technology that we supposedly have right now, not saying that we don't have anything more
I can hear it
advanced
now.
than that.
Catch the baby! Oh my God, the baby's floating away! Catch the
No,
baby!
the problem is that the baby wouldn't develop right.
True.
Its arms,
Yeah, it
its
wouldn't be able to
legs,
survive
its brain,
back on Earth.
Everything would not develop right. So it
wouldn't develop right in space.
Well, and Joe, the idea of it ever coming back to Earth, that's not a plan right now.
Yeah, there would be absolutely.
They never come back.
There would be absolutely no way for that child to develop in a way that a normal human would develop. It wouldn't be possible.
So, wow.
It comes with a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm. So
when you just think it's just we can't have sex in space, that sucks.
Not
but
just
it
that.
actually does.
Not just that, but my mind goes to why are we developing on Mars? Is something happening to Earth that they're just not telling us that they want to move, all the smart people to Mars?
Things have been happening on Earth
Oh, no,
that they
I get
haven't
that,
told us
but
about since the
If
dawn
you
of time.
but at the same time, if you look at the timeline,
I think of 2012, the movie. Oh yeah, you pay $50 billion, we'll get you to Mars.
we are very close to the next ice age. We have no idea when it's coming, but it is coming within the next 150,000 years.
Oh, okay.
We're at that point.
That's generations away from me. That's
It
fine.
is
It is.
generations
Well, they
away
have-
from us, but they need
It
to.
could
They have the astronauts that are up on the space station, and they lose bone density constantly.
Right.
The guys have been up there for a long time. When they first come back, they have trouble walking around and doing normal things.
Yes, not
I can
only
imagine
that,
if you had never developed the ability to live on Earth and being used to the gravity, you wouldn't be able to come back.
Oh, no, you would not. Not a chance. And see, the other issue that we have with people in space, okay, that not a lot of people know about either, is the blood and the circulation system.
Right.
Okay? So people's blood in space gets thicker and it flows the wrong direction sometimes. Okay? Which can cause all kinds of issues like blood clots and everything else.
Wow.
Okay? So because of the gravity and because of the way that everything works in space, there have been 2 astronauts aboard the International Space Station that have developed issues with their blood in their jugular vein flowing the wrong direction.
Did you realize we just went from talking about the government building a UFO to sex in space?
Yeah, I was going to say
And that's why we love this show.
Yeah.
And
Well,
That's why they call it the Roundtable.
Right?
Well, one of the things that I think about it is when I look at it, I look at saying the biggest thing that you are laying out of the way is if it is a secret, and there are stuff like that, and I look at Space Force and I look at some of the things that are going on, and I remember some of the videos and some of the things from Michael Sherratt, and I respect his work very much on the government secret planes and so forth like that he has put together. And, you have to remember something. If there is a secret anti-gravity, magnetic forces, all play a force in this. So when you're talking about the guinea pigs up on the ISS station, if there is a space force and it is truly flying around going to other planets, possibly they're using anti-gravity. You wouldn't have a problem with propagating in space or doing anything else if you were able to generate anti-gravity.
Which
now,
sure,
okay.
Sure.
No, so I'm just thinking here, but with the amount of money they're throwing into this, honestly, sex in space problem, I know we say our government has done a lot of things, and it's possible for them to do a lot of things, but unfortunately, they do get caught quite often with some of the stuff they do. Mm-hmm. I think it would be pretty hard to hide the amounts of money that they are putting into this, because we're in the billions already.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane when you think about it. But,
I'll take $1 billion.
Huh?
I'll take $1 billion.
Well, it's worse than that, because if you look at 9/11 back in 2001, on 9/10 they were missing $3 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is, if they already have anti-gravity, there's no reason for them to actually try and figure out this problem. They wouldn't even present the problem, because it's got to be embarrassing for NASA. Like, we can send people into space, we can do all kinds of things. We've sent a probe outside of the solar system, but we can't let you have sex. Sorry.
Okay, no. To be fair, at the same time, though, how much did we spend on a ballpoint pen that could write in space?
Right.
We had the solution the whole
The
time.
Russians solved it by using a pencil.
You didn't have the solution. Russia had the solution.
Do you really think the Army spends $150 on a toilet seat?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Them some nice toilets.
Cushion.
So what do you think about all this, Preston?
Yeah, I'm convinced we do have the ability to fly these things around. It's my understanding. I mean, I've been told this from people who should know this stuff. I've talked to a few whistleblowers myself. Good 10, 20% of the stuff people are seeing is probably us flying this stuff around, particularly around Air Force bases or places like Area 51. It's not just Bob Lazar, talking about this stuff. There's an enormous number of people who've said this. We do have crashed UFOs, I think, in very large numbers, not just Roswell.
No, absolutely not.
So it makes perfect logical sense. I don't think we've understand a lot of what we've obtained, the technology, but certainly some of it has been reverse engineered. Mm-hmm. Colonel Corso said that some of our technology was taken straight from Roswell, and people have tried to debunk him. He's the guy who wrote The Day After Roswell, and says that fiber optics, integrated circuit.
So absolutely, I fully
Night
agree.
Vision.
I fully agree. We have technology from the crash saucers, but do we actually have a UFO, a flying disc that crashed that we've back engineered? That's where I have a hard time. Absolutely, the cell phone, computers, fiber optics, that all came from crashed technology. I guess my hard time is, are some of these UFOs we see flying around, landing and whatnot, are they U.S. government? That's where I have a hard time.
Well,
yeah.
My hard point is we have elements that we know we haven't discovered yet because we are a very small part of the Milky Way galaxy.
Right.
There are elements on other planets that we have identified as a new element, but we don't know what the hell they are yet.
Well, that's why I believe Bob Lazar, because Bob Lazar is talking about element 115, for example, long before all of a sudden scientists went, oh yeah, by the way, we've got element 115. Yeah, Bob Lazar talked about that 2 years ago in Area 51. It's not new.
But what I'm saying is, like, let's say you have an old truck, and the engine and the transmission both blowing. Mm-hmm. What do you need to make it work again?
Kryptonite.
The new part.
Right?
Yeah.
If the block is completely cracked, there is no way to actually fix that. You have to buy a new block. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, if there are certain, if these things are crashed and we can't fit, there's got to be a possibility that we don't have certain parts of these things to make them work again, or to reverse engineer them on our planet or any planet we've actually been to or anywhere we've been.
What was I watching? So I was watching a documentary a couple weeks ago, actually, where the guy it was a guy from Area 51 that was actually on this documentary that said the scientists were getting frustrated because they couldn't figure out the science behind these craft, and we're actually walking away. Have you heard of that one, Preston?
Yeah. I've heard that we have some recovered UFOs that we haven't even been able to get inside of.
Right,
and some we've got inside of, and there's no visible engine that we would think of as an engine. Some of it's just completely mystifying to the scientists.
Well, and some of them are actually flown by mental process. They're actually flown, for lack of a better term, it wouldn't be telepathically, but telekinetically, I guess, through brainwaves. And they were actually using some abductees to try. I've heard some abductee reports where they're actually encouraged to fly the craft.
Correct.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, we've heard that before also.
Many
where they are
times,
trying to do that.
But I can totally see the scientists being confused by what they're seeing. That'd be handing a Tesla to Henry Ford.
Right.
People are like, what the hell is this shit?
Well, and it's...
I think they'd be able to figure out the basic mechanics of something, but if there's an element or a process there that we don't even know about yet, they're not going to be able to make it work.
Right.
But like one of you brought up that maybe the aliens have told us, because there's lots of different races, so maybe there are a few working.
Well, that it's a fact that the United States Navy has patents on technical things that engineering the fabric of reality almost,
Right.
Laser augmented turbojet propulsion systems. It's already patented. It's by Northrop Grumman. You've got craft using inertial mass reduction devices. Patent. There's a patent number on it. It's also patented by the United States of America, representing the Secretary of the Navy. You've got other crafts. High temperature piezoelectric introduced high temperature subconductors, plasma compression fusion devices, electromagnetic field generators, and methods to generate an electromagnetic field, high frequency gravitational wave generators, and they're all already patented, and they've been patented since 2017. Some of them go back to 2015. So there is a way to do research to look at some of the odd things that have happened that were so far out, and that's when you start looking at the future of aircraft now. Many years ago, and I'm sure Preston's heard this, and the theory that we had is that there's such a secret that there is 60 to 100 year difference between what they have and what they are talking about and what we allow to know. So it's kind of like going, they already have stuff flying around. They don't need to have a missile shot up out of the ground by NASA shooting something out from Cape Canaveral. It's for our benefit to tell us that this is all we have.
So here's a question for you.
It's all a game.
If we've got it, you think Russia has it too?
Absolutely.
Russia had a Roswell incident as well.
I don't think.
Well,
that
it's
just
not.
Russia
What
has
the
it.
bad thing about it is that if you really want my personal opinion about it, I think that after the Cold War, I believe that France, Russia, United States are all a coalition that was all working with this, even though they wanted to seem as their excuse is, look, we don't get along. Well, in this area,
we're all getting along up on the space station.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Because of the the situation and severity of possibly that there are other races that would plan on doing harm, and the battle is not on this ground. It's when you have space Star Wars and everything else being made, they're aiming at the other way.
And I've heard that same theory many different times, that actually the Cold War was all a front, and that the media, that they play the media like a fiddle, that, oh yeah, you know what, Putin actually made threats towards Biden and yada yada yada, and in all reality it's all a theater. It's all
yes, exactly.
Okay, new theory.
Okay.
New theory. We have one craft on this world. Mm-hmm. That is extraterrestrial. The aliens came, they gave it to us, they told us how to use it, gave us extra parts, and said share it. All the crashes, same craft. We suck at driving. And every time you crash it, the next country gets it.
That's how they share it.
What do you guys think?
Well, Kecksburg, that was a fluke because that was a bell.
Right. Yeah.
And I get that, like, Maury Island and Roswell weren't too far apart.
Not time-wise, no.
Yeah, so when that Maury Island happened, the U.S. just didn't tell anybody.
No, well, that wasn't... and that's what's weird, too. I've heard two different stories about it. Now, I firmly believe in the story about the craft didn't crash, they just dumped sludge. But I heard a random story on some other podcast, I think it was, where they said craft crashed on the beach. Now, that's not founded. Definitely they dumped sludge or some kind of residue out of the craft. It killed his dog. It injured his son. The men in black came and visited him the next day. But
at the same time, that could have been us reverse engineering a craft, and that black sludge wasn't supposed to come out.
Right.
That's a possibility, isn't it?
It is.
Like, we reverse engineered the craft, got it to fly, but something went wrong and they dumped something.
So you're talking we developed...
Wasn't that back in 1947?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't think we had reversed engineered anything at that point.
No, because that was kind of the highlight of the UFO phenomena, was really back in 47.
Yeah.
Okay, but...
Anything back then, I don't think we were flying anything back then.
We were still trying to figure out what they were.
Right.
Yeah. We weren't even sure if they were there.
Or right at the beginning of MJ-12 and all the setup from that point.
Isn't it possible?
At this point, there's guys that have retired from Lockheed Skunk Works and stuff saying you wouldn't believe what we have out there.
Right.
They won't tell us, but they've all said the same thing. They said there's stuff out there that people would not believe.
Isn't it a theory that the microwave came from aliens?
Huh?
Yeah.
Isn't it a theory that the microwave came from aliens?
Yeah, what do you guys think? Microwave came from aliens?
No.
Or from their craft or something
Possible.
in some sense?
Possible.
Okay, so if that's possible, that would be a reverse engineering
thing. Technology, as far as communications and everything else, all can come from the smaller chips, all that kind of stuff. I mean, look at what computers were beforehand. Look at what, all of a sudden, as they started developing and finding smaller chips and smaller things and seeing them, they realized that they could recreate and do these other things and store massive amounts of information on.
Yeah, everything has gotten smaller. I mean, we went from, everyone was excited about the gigabyte. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, they've got a terabyte.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm not going to sit here and take away that humans aren't smart enough to develop that. Sure they are. But some of this rapid advancement still seems kind of speculative.
Right, it does, and over the period of time that it has, and currently right now in the situation we have in our country, we're being it's coming more and more. If there is going to be a great awakening or something like that, and there is a disclosure, and look at what's going on in Congress, and possibly Preston could talk more about that with the UFOs. I mean, all that stuff is coming out since the Rubio started asking the questions and formed the committee. And all that is all part of all of this stuff. I mean, if it is all true, people are going to have constant dissonance so bad that they're not going to believe it. That's why people can't believe certain things. You could tell, they could see it in front of them, and you could tell them what it is, and they're going to go, I can't wrap my mind around that.
Right.
Because that's not what I was told, but they have to deal with their own conditioning and their own stories that most of the people have been made to not be aware of exactly what's going on in their own way.
Yeah, well, the Pentagon said directly, I mean, I'm quoting, we have material from otherworldly vehicles.
Yes, exactly.
Flat out. And slid right under the radar.
Exactly, and it took them 60,
when they
80 years to do it.
When they released
in 2021 is when they came. Just recently, that came out.
Yeah, and how people react.
You haven't heard
almost nobody said anything.
They released it in the middle of a pandemic when everyone's focused on COVID and focused on schools.
All these other things that were all kept secret that have been in the conspiracy side for years. So obviously we have advancements that are out there that we have never been told about, and now they're just letting them go because we've got better and better things that they don't want us to know about.
Yeah, well, if the tech companies can be believed, it's going to be a while before we update our storage for bytes.
Oh, the terabyte?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now, a petabyte is the next up from a terabyte.
They need another UFO crash.
The cost for 1 petabyte of storage is $93 trillion.
Oh, good God.
It takes 10,814 football fields to hold the drives that it would take to hold a petabyte. And it would take 472 of the world's largest data centers.
Yeah. Okay. We need another crashed UFO.
We got a while.
Alright, I have a little weird theory here, though. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the early 1800s, there were these sightings of...
in Texas.
Giant birds.
Oh, okay.
Everywhere.
Okay.
Everybody talked about these sightings of giant birds. Mm-hmm. It was all over the world, everywhere. If we really are 100 to 150 years advanced from where we are at, how do we know that those weren't aircrafts? They just didn't know how to describe them in any way except for it's a giant bird. If we are that much more advanced than we're supposed to be.
Well, where did the giant birds go from the 1800s to now?
Like this anymore.
They're planes.
They were the souls of our chiefs.
Huh?
They were the souls of our chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
You took away our land. They don't like it here anymore.
Right.
They left.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that people throughout the ages have been describing crafts in all kinds of different ways.
That is
They've been saying that there's giant birds. They've been saying that there's dragons. I'm not saying that dragons don't exist in themselves.
You can't say that anymore.
But there's all kinds of these beasts of the sky that people talk about from the beginning of time.
Right.
Okay? So who's to say that we didn't have this technology at that point? And we are living in 100 years past from where we actually are because of the fact that we slowly release. That's what we do.
Well, people have always described strange things in the sky. There's the story of Alexander the Great when he was busy tearing across Europe and Asia. Before one of the battles, they saw these giant shields, they said, hovering in the sky. And because of that, they knew they were going to be victorious, and they were. Well, what were the giant shields? Big round things. Mm-hmm. What could that have been?
Well, and you know, look at the Battle of Nuremberg. The description of the craft in Nuremberg were giant orbs, and the depiction of them is they were bright, they were they were round shaped, and they were shooting each other. I mean, they actually showed fire being shot at each other, and that was 13th century.
But if you think about what we did to people back then for their scientific beliefs, we called them witches, we called them all kinds of stuff. We burned them at the stake. We said that this was not okay. What did we do? We drove them underground. We drove them into communities where they could explore these things, where they were by themselves. Mm-hmm. So if you have a whole bunch of really, really smart people that have been outcast from a community, all getting together and creating, who knows what kind of technology we've had and when we've had it.
So I'm going to throw my second question here because it kind of goes along. It's so with UFOs, do you think the increase in Starlink, more UFOs are mistaken identity, or do we think UFOs are on the rise, the same, or going down?
I actually looked at this statistically. In the beginning half of 2020, there was almost double the amount of reported sightings.
Now, do we think because of COVID, more and more people were staying home, more and more people were isolated, at home, whatnot, and looking up? Could that be?
I think that's probably part of a factor. But there's a steady escalation of sightings. There's a steady increased awareness of this phenomena. So I think both those factors come into play here. I don't think the UFOs are going away by any means.
I kind of want to know.
I think part of it is there's, like you said, because of COVID, maybe because of COVID, maybe not, but people are watching all the shows that are on TV, the History Channel and the Ancient Aliens and all that, and they're starting to get it in their head. And like you said, maybe they're staying home, they're sitting out in their backyard, and they're seeing things, and they're immediately, that's a UFO. Well, you got a whole lot of new people that are all of a sudden looking up, misidentifying a lot of regular things.
Absolutely.
That's part of it.
You've got new astronomers, basically, and nothing against them. There's nothing wrong with that. But learn what you're looking at. It does here locally, in the last few days, we have people talking about these green lights going across the sky. Well, Starlink, I'm not sure if they're green lights or not, but it looked like a net. And, one of the locals was talking about it being a laser.
Not possible.
No?
Not possible.
I've watched the Starlink go over, and they're white lights, and they're in a straight line, and that's only right after they launch because they slowly spread out.
Yeah, and then
but it's in a line.
The green light she was talking about, completely
A
cloudy
lot of
night.
people did think Starlink were
Not possibly
UFO.
any stars or anything.
There was an extreme. There was a lot of reports about Starlink being parts, and he's set up like 60-some. I don't know how many he set up, but they go up at 30, 40 at a time, and before he places it on orbit, and some of them are still not in orbit yet. They are circling around the planet, and you can chase them. The important part about it is, with all of these UFO sightings and everything else, that people report them. And if they are reported, then certified investigators can investigate it. And we know what Starlink is. We know what all these other things are. And then you get that information, and we weed that out. And then we talk about the green lights and the netting and everything. Definitely not Starlink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't look anything like a Starlink. And what...
you see it?
I saw the
what Musk did now is he put masking on all the satellites, so they cannot be seen, because what it is, it's the glare off of sun and other lights that is making them. They have no lights on it. It's the reflection that they have. So he put non-reflective material on the newer ones, so you don't see the ones that are being seen now.
That's a good idea.
He changed that. So the ones that are going up and being shot up now, it's impossible to be able to see. But there are several hundred. There are 100, or there are more than 100 out there that you will see. I haven't heard that they are placed in orbit yet. I don't know if Preston knows that or not. I think they're still just going around because he needed to get so many up there before he put them into an orbital position. Isn't that correct, Preston?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Okay.
With Starlink?
Yeah, with Starlink.
Yes.
Yeah, because
in order to actually create the network.
Yeah, right, exactly. So a lot of them are still trailing each other around and around, but they're all on different orbital paths because of the time that they're all put up there. So it may be flying over Washington tonight, and you may see it, and there may be another one flying over Georgia, at the same time. If you report your sightings and we get the information, that is what's so important, and do you report sightings? So many people now have taken a stance that, we can't trust anybody, or people will still think we're nuts. We still have all those stigmatisms that are out there. So it's very important to report them so that people like Preston, myself, can investigate it and be able to get an idea of what it is, and also put it on a tracking system or something else where we know these are happening. Because in certain areas where higher populations is, more people are reporting them. It's more common for people to report them in California than it is in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Plus, we also see that if you look at populace and you start taking a look at, say, you've got a gigantic populace in L.A., so many people are reporting it, but you have a very small populace in Kentucky, you'll still see the same amount of sightings, which may raise that up if you're doing it by populace, that this may become a more higher area and more frequently than it would be if you had more people's eyes on it.
Barry, is there a MUFON area for Canada? Like, is there a MUFON?
Oh yeah, there is a MUFON Canada. There's an international MUFON.
Okay, I have homework for you, if you don't mind.
Oh, I love it. I just got some homework today. This wasn't right before the show. Someone sent me some pictures of something in Tennessee, and I've tried to get them to report it in, and a lot of people don't report it, but they know that I do this, so they report it to me, and they say, no, I don't want you to report it, because I would definitely put it in a report, but I still get it, and I get to look at it and see it, which is sometimes right. And I think Preston knows the same thing, because people will call him and talk to him, and it's not that we want to keep it, it's just that they do not want it to be left out, but they do want somebody to look at.
Right. If you can, watch the reports from last night for Canada.
I will.
Because every news station in Canada was reporting that everyone should go outside and look up. Most of Canada had quite clear skies last night, apparently, and the northern lights were at a vector of 10, which is very unusual, like across Canada. The only places you couldn't see them was a small part of the Maritime Islands and a small part of BC. Everywhere else was full green.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's very rare. And I haven't heard anything of solar flares, because normally when that happens, it's due to solar activity when it flares up like that, and it can be seen so well.
Mm-hmm. Well, but it does take time to travel, so that could be, like, we did have a fairly large solar flare 2 months ago.
It would be within a week. It'd be a week to 2 weeks. It's not. I would say a week is better for a solar flare affecting the aurora borealis.
But yeah, apparently, like they just lit up last night. So that kind of makes me wonder how many people actually went outside, looked up, and if anyone saw anything that wasn't green but silver.
We've seen it all the way here to Kentucky one time, and it freaked out people so bad that they thought there was a serious death ray coming out, and we were having a war somewhere, or there was something that was going to kill them all. Because, I can't. It was several years ago, but I remember taking some of those calls. It was amazing.
I would have to say probably about 10% of our actual UFO reports UFO sightings get reported.
Yeah, what do you think about that, bro? Do you agree with that?
Huh?
That's a high number.
It probably is.
I've had some interesting sightings, and I've never reported one of them.
No, I've had 5 or 6 sightings, and I never reported them. So
I had one. I didn't even tell Eric till like 4 months later.
I totally agree.
Honestly, I would have to say 10%, and you're probably right. It probably is a high number.
Yeah.
I think we're more at like
1.9.
1.9.
Think so?
Yeah.
And on that note, it's time for our last break for the night. And when we come back, we will carry on. And I'm going to put, let's see, eeny, meeny, miny.
Joe.
Preston, we'll take your second question for tonight.
All right, we will be right back. Here is Hell Wildfire.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Break. You're going down.
Spirit Cooper.
And welcome back to S4 for our last hour tonight of March Roundtable. It's been a vigorous roundtable. Always love vigorous roundtables. So, Preston, what's your last question for the night?
My last question for the night would be, how many of you have seen UFOs?
Which time?
All of you?
I don't know.
Yes. I could say, I've been a sky watcher all my life, and, I have a science background, and I can look up and see, well, that's a planet, that's a star, that's an airplane, those are satellites, and there are things that I've seen up there. Most of them, it's just from movement. You'll see something go along and then take a right angle turn and shoot off. That's nothing natural or even man-made. Mm-hmm. I did have one. It came over about a year and a half ago, right over my place here. I thought it was an airplane coming in. I saw it coming in at a distance really low over the trees, and I was thinking, what is this guy doing? Where's he going to land? I mean, this was something big, like a C-130 or something. And the closer it got, this thing went low and slow right over the top of me. I could have hit it with a bow and arrow. If I had a bow with me, I could have hit it. It was huge. I had to turn my head from side to side to look at it. It was a sharp triangle, not like a regular three-sided triangle. It was more like the bottom of a Star Destroyer from Star Wars. Looking up at it, and there was a lot of lights on it, and by the time the thing got over me, I realized this isn't one of ours. This isn't an airplane. It kind of freaked me out.
And do you think you've ever been taken on board one of these things?
I don't think so. I have no memory of that. I do have a
Because I think that because low-level sightings, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
If something gets within a couple.
That's what I've heard. I've heard if you see one, you've been on it.
Well, if it's as low as it was for you, usually your abductee is going to see it and then have like 2 or 3 hours of missing time as they watch it leaving. So
but missing time can be seamless. That people don't always realize.
Nope.
Yeah, it was like I said. It was from seeing it, and it. People always say, "Oh, they're silent, they're silent." No, this thing, I felt the rumble. That's why I thought it was a big plane coming in, and I got up, looked around the corner of the building, saw the thing coming. I could feel it, and by the time it was going over me, it wasn't loud, but there was a hum you could hear. Mm-hmm. And I watched it from the distance to go over the top of me till it disappeared in the distance. I didn't feel like there was any gap in time there or anything like that, but it's possible, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah, because I had a close-up sighting where this little ball of light came right up to my windshield, dropped down out of the sky. I thought it was a bird at first until it came right up to my windshield. It was a little ball of light. Darted back and forth a few times and took off. And that's all I thought it was for a long time. I actually forgot about it for a few months, suddenly remembered, and took a couple of years at least before I realized, you know what? I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember driving home, and I've seen UFOs after that, and I'm super excited. I write it down. I call everyone. I didn't do that in that case, so I'm wondering now, I may have had missing time. I didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Cole saw one last year.
2 years ago.
2 years? Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago when I first started driving again.
No, we had one here in your backyard last year. We thought it was a satellite, but the way it moved, it wasn't a satellite. It did a U.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, of course, there were the flashy lights on the... So we are doing sky watches here this summer. So we'll have a lot more to report. But let's see.
I had one when I was in high school, I believe. I was with my family at my uncle's house, and we were eating dinner out on the deck and looked towards the east further, and up over this hill was like a red light, and then all of a sudden a yellow kind of hue came around, almost like a sun would be rising almost, but it just set kind of above this hill kind of behind it. For the longest time, people were calling in about it. They sent jets up from Moses Lake to try to come find it and stuff. But by the time they were up in the air, it was gone. It just like vanished from being this bright red, kind of dull yellow around it to being gone. And there was my family and several others around where we live saw it, and many others did too. But when they sent things up, sent jets up and stuff, they couldn't find anything.
Wow.
You asked about the missing time. I did have one instance of missing time that I definitely know of, but I wasn't involved with the UFO, although I didn't see anything. I left the drilling rig right about midnight. I was working over in the California coastal hills, and it took about a half an hour for me to drive from the rig at night to the motel I was staying in. About halfway there, I was up on a ridge, middle of nowhere. I mean, there's no lights anywhere. Beautiful night. My car stopped work. It just stopped. Pulled over to the side of the road. Pulled over to the side of the road. Was complaining about the car. It's an old '76 Firebird. Got out, cleaned off the battery terminals. I figured it was an electrical problem because the whole thing just shut down. Put the terminals back on, smoked another cigarette, got in the car, started up, drove on, and I should have gotten to the motel about 12:30, maybe 12:45 at the most. And I didn't notice until I pulled into the parking lot and got out that the sun was coming up. I could see the top of the trees. I walked in the room, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Uh-oh. That's two red flags right there.
Right?
Yeah. Serious red flag,
Seriously red flag.
So let's see, my first UFO was actually in Germany, and it was a very large golden orange orb hovering over the town of Kitzingen. And it was around midnight. I could see the full moon on one side of the Autobahn and this orb on the other, and it was just like you turn off a light, it just disappeared. The second one was about a year later, I guess, and I was on my patio in Bad Windsheim, and I saw a star that was just kind of flashing. So I got a flashlight, and I blinked the flashlight at it, and it shot down to about airline level, hovered for about 10 minutes, no communication, no nothing like that, but then it just shot right back up to its original point. The third sighting was in Iraq, and it was a triangular-shaped craft with unique light patterns, and it was hovering and going over Syria. And that was actually witnessed also by one soldier that was an aircraft crewman. The other was an aircraft mechanic, and both of them confirmed that that was not a normal craft. That wasn't ours. Now, in all fairness, could it have been experimental aircraft from another country? Possibly. But it was confirmed by two different soldiers that knew aircraft quite well that it wasn't ours. So, and then I've had a few unique UFO encounters here up in the mountains, in the Cascades up here.
I plead the fifth.
Uh-huh. Of course you do.
The thing is, though, I didn't report mine to anyone. Did you, Eric? Did you report it to any organizations? Nope.
No. But honestly,
I don't think most people do report things.
But
I always ask people if they've reported it, and 1 in 100, maybe.
But that's the thing too.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the thing too. Running Forest with Paranormal, we took our own UFO reports, and we still do. So, are we a major group like MUFON or NICAP or No, we're not. But we investigate our own UFO sightings as it is. So why am I going to report it when I run an organization that handles our own cases?
Well, what's interesting is if MUFON gets 20 reports a day, which they do about, and NUFORC, well, times that by 100. So what's that, 2,000 reports a day? There's a UFO flying around at all times. Someone right now is being abducted. It's a very active, ongoing phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
it is an ongoing phenomenon. And we all know about my case. I've talked about it a lot. My first experience was in May 17, 1964, which was Fariac. It was seen throughout Ohio, and it landed in Massillon, and that was the first time that I had an abduction experience that led on to, and then we had a down period of that till I was probably 17 years old, and then had repeated visitations and abductions throughout that whole period, through most of my whole life, and probably still do. The case was originally part of a blue book case, which is incredibly, you can't find it because of the people and the personnel that were there, but it was part of the Akron UFO society that was that did report it and did save it, and it's become eaten up with ACRO and everything else into MUFON's files. I believe they're the one that hold AMPRO and ACRO right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's and currently right now, that's the reason why I love the work of the abductees. And there are a lot of abductees getting abducted, and some of the things that you learn, and I think Preston knows this too, that there are certain markers that are just stand out, and when you're dealing with an actual abductee. And to some people, and why some people think it's cool to be an abductee, I don't know. But there is definite markers that happen, and you can relate, and the story kind of well. So it is happening. Some of these people were being taken off planet. They're seeing some very unusual things. They're also being taken to underground dumbs, I believe. We're hearing reports about that. I don't know if Preston's gotten anything like that, but I'm sure he probably has.
Of course.
And some of the things that they are seeing. So there is a presence of ET or extraterrestrials here on Earth also. Are they working with the government? That could explain my labs, which is military abduction type things. We know that, talking about tracking things, we have seen, and Steve Colbert's done a lot with the Roger Lear. He worked with Roger Lear for, I think, 8 years. Roger's passed now. But he did some remarkable stuff with the materials that abductees have put inside of them. And it's all very, very strange, and it's an amazing thing to look at and to research.
Absolutely.
Lots of room for research here.
Lots of room.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how all this rolls out in the future. Disclosure, open official contact. I think it's coming.
Oh, well, I think it's more and more every day. And that some of the things that, even in today's world, if it's we're getting bits and pieces of certain things, and people talk about awake and people talk about other things. I think that some people may think that they're awake, but they're going to get the shock of their life if some of the stuff actually comes out that has been going on for the last 60 years, because we're going to have a bunch of people running around going, "What? That's impossible."
That's coming up April 4th. We're going to be talking, are you prepared for the alien invasion?
There you go. The aliens may have already invaded, and
worst day to see a UFO is April 1st.
Right.
EMP hasn't hit yet, so I don't think so.
Well, EMPs are interesting things.
Invasions have happened so far, I promise.
Well, one of the interesting
you
things
talk about
this
you talk about the EMPs. When I just told you the story about that one that came over low and slow, I had my camera with me, my phone. I pulled it out, and I started filming because I'll always film planes going over because we have fire bombers going over here all the time, all summer long. I've got thousands of pictures of aircraft.
Right.
I pulled the camera out, and I pointed it at this thing. The camera would not work on that phone. And I tried all the way from when it was in the distance till it was right over the top of me, till it was right out, and I tried and tried and tried. It would not work, and as soon as the thing disappeared, the camera started working again.
Yeah, I have a case with 11 people, 4 of them were photographers. All of their cameras failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been on cases before, seeing things, even personally, try to film things, impossible to do it. Sometimes the camera comes back, sometimes it doesn't ever work right again. But as Preston may also know, we get a lot of rolling blackouts. When you hear about these rolling blackouts, right, there is some kind of craft that is flying around that is, how many people have been in their home and their lights flicker and they go out for a second, they come back on? That's a rolling blackout. And they go in certain directions. And if investigators can actually, if they're fortunate enough to be able to talk to the power companies, they can be able to see where these rolling blackouts went. And it will almost path you directly over what people have seen. If you can, I've had several reports of it and people saying blackouts are having problems with their vehicles or semi-tractors, and then you follow it up with that and you see rolling blackouts.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense.
So,
the vehicle stopped because they shut the power off in that area.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's some kind of EMF pulse that is. Yep. And it takes.
And my car was rolling, and the lights went out, so that's a blackout, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's a signal of
blackout.
EMF. There is an EMF, a high electrical field that is altering the, just like we talk about when the nuclear bomb goes off and there's a gigantic EMP,
Yeah.
That's what that is. Everything stops.
And it's curious, the link there between going into a haunted location and having your batteries drained.
Right. It's same. Well, that's an interesting point. And,
it's the same concept.
Putting the two together, same type of concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that with Bigfoot as well. I think Steve Scott was the one that pointed that out.
Yeah, that's why anymore it's such, I used the phrase earlier, high strangeness, because we see it so much. We may go into a paranormal situation and ask them certain questions. Have you ever seen a UFO? Yeah. Well, when did all this paranormal activity start? Well, it was after I saw that UFO, and then I noticed that my TVs would shut off because we've all heard paranormal stories about, my electronic devices go off. People blow light bulbs. I see orbs. I've seen shadow people,
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately, with all cases, whether they've seen Bigfoot, whether they've seen an alien, whether they see a ghost, it's all related. And that's the category that we put into what I think needs to be researched more is the high strangeness cases where they are related.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've got the Bigfoot and the UFOs and the ghosts. Everyone always divides them up into their own little categories. They could all be part of the same phenomena.
And that gets
and there are similarities, like you said, with the electronic devices.
Right.
It happens with all of them.
And it's so irritating when you get into a discussion with the haunting side. Oh, there's no such thing as aliens, but we believe in spirits. And the same thing with the Bigfoot folk. You talk about Bigfoot, but there's no such thing as spirits or aliens. Paranormal.
It's the same thing with ufology, because ufology always looked at it as, and there are certain people today in the UFO field in ufology that don't believe or see a coalition. They consider spirits and everything else different. But if they would, you have to open your mind a little bit and look at it, because there are so many things. We live in a magnificent universe, and there's so many mysteries in this universe that you have to be able to. You can't be so strong-headed to say no. That can't be related, because you're missing part of the picture.
No, it's all it's all paranormal.
I think they're probably related, but I hesitate to call them the same thing. I'm not really a believer that ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot are all different masks of the same phenomena. I think we're dealing with separate entities here.
Oh,
that's
I
possible.
believe that there's possible that they're separate entities, but I believe that wherever they are at or whatever, as they come through a different dimension or whatever, there are consequences that wrap it all into one thing. You start seeing other things, whether it's, the veil lifts and all of a sudden you're able to see, you have electronic things and everything else. Look at abductees. Each abductee is given, in many cases, a certain gift. They may have telekinesis. They are able to move objects, be able to do all kinds of different things. So, some pick up on frequencies, some pick up on something different. And, I had a case that I was dealing with. It was an Indiana case. But I knew I was able to meet the guy, and we talked several times way after his case was closed and so forth. It was ongoing. And this guy knew more about, his education was not stellar. I don't think he went past the 8th grade. When you talk about something, he had dyslexia, he had all kinds of disabilities in that regard, but you talked about magnetic fields to him, and this man would floor you. It would be like talking to. It was amazing, the things that he knew about magnetism, and what he would say when you asked him, "How do you know that?" I was told that by the aliens.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're all about magnetism. That's how they fly their craft. People have taken the engine room all the time and explained in detail how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it was like listening to a professor talk. And I mean, when you know an ordinary person, and all of a sudden they change in that way, they're able to discuss something that is so far over their realm. Something happened to them.
Yeah.
They were educated in a special way.
Heard that sort of thing many times, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like circling back to the very beginning of the show. You have the regular Bigfoot, and then you got the ones that know stuff.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. Well, you would think that the regular Bigfoot would be seen more often, and it would be kind of dopey, wouldn't you? You'd think that you'd probably have one.
Like a bear.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I kind of have a problem with your theory, though, because honestly, we are completely...
Of course you would.
We are completely disregarding human ingenuity in itself. Like, there are certain things that are 100% human, and human-made, and human-done. Mm-hmm. And by stating that everything that happened to this particular person or that was all because of an ET connection or because of an abduction scenario, discredits the fact that that person might just be intelligent in that way. Like, I mean, there are certain things that are obviously paranormal related, for sure, but we cannot say that there are not things that are strictly...
Some people are just gifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, ETs seem to be attracted people psychic.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's a point when I think it's from a trauma related or something like that, PTSD or whatever it may be. But most of the abductees that I deal with all come back as going, everything that I have known in my whole life is a lie.
So I'm going to bring this up.
And they have to deal with living with that. I mean, they really have problems with it.
Izzy and I argue about abduction often because there's a lot of similarity between family abuse victims and drug abuse victims with the patterns of abduction. So it's really a matter of isolating the abduction phenomena symptoms and validating that there isn't an alternative trauma that happened in childhood.
Exactly, and you have to know that much. And unfortunately, that's where we go wrong with some of the reporting, because I have abductees that I have worked with for years, 7 to 8 years. I continue to talk to and get information from and research from, because of the fact that, and I'm sure Preston understands this too, when you first meet somebody, you have to build a reputation, or you have to build some kind of
trust,
something with them, because of the fact that most of them will say, "You're not going to believe this," and then
right,
don't think I'm crazy, don't think I'll have that, and then even if you've been working with somebody for a year, there's one thing, I get this a lot, and it'd be interesting to see if Preston gets it also. They will say to you, "There's something I didn't tell you because I didn't think you'd believe me."
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then they lay something on you, and you already go, "Yep, that's part of the syndrome. That's it. You got it."
Right.
You know? Yeah, I've heard
There's
of that.
stuff I haven't told you guys.
Oh, hell.
I just think it's funny that
I was afraid of that.
I just think it's funny that our resident alien just came on and said, "We didn't do it. We had nothing to do with it."
Oh,
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So we are coming down to the last 30 minutes of the show. Arnold, what's your next question?
My next question deals with electrical storms and the paranormal.
Okay.
We just kind of got me thinking, when we are homeless, living in a car in the rest area, and there was an electrical storm that came through, thunder, lightning, whatever, but what happened after that was weird. Our car that we were in, the battery all of a sudden was dead. My thing for air pressure in my tires, that malfunctioned. There were several other things that happened at the rest area at the same time during that storm that hadn't happened before. And I've been around in eastern Washington and stuff and had electrical storms and bigger ones than that one come through, and never had an issue with things killing batteries in cars and redoing your car and stuff like that. So my question is, have any of you guys been around where like paranormal activities really stepped up in electrical storms?
Not personally, but I'm going to say I think the energy from some storms does bring out more activity, and that's actually one of the questions I have when I tell someone who's got paranormal activity to start a dream journal. One is I always tell them, keep a notebook by your bed. As soon as you wake up, write down the date, the time, the weather, and then a description of the dream with any diagrams or any pictures you remember in your dream. Because weather does affect your dreams. It affects, I do think it affects paranormal activity. I think it increases it to a point.
Okay, because another one, what
storm creates would do that. Any release of energy that a storm creates would do that.
Right.
So, like Iceland this week would be an amazing place to do an investigation.
Why?
because they just had one of their largest volcanoes that's been dormant for 6,000 years.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. The aliens failed.
Think about that. Like a volcanic explosion is a huge release of energy for the Earth.
Right.
That has to bring something out.
Yeah, Northern Lights.
I never thought about that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been part of this.
Well, there are reports of UFOs hovering over volcanoes or going into them.
Oh, yes.
Or earthquakes as well.
So the thing with volcanoes, I do think there are some UFOs that actually use the geothermal energy from volcanoes to power their craft. That's one of the theories I've got with that.
I've had contactees tell me that UFOs use lightning to power their craft as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's my weird connection between two paranormal fields here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so again, people have talked about a mystical creature called a thunderbird for many years.
Right.
Okay, so this bird is a triangle. It flies through, and it brings an electromagnetic storm with it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you take that into a context of when the sightings were for this, why couldn't that be a UFO that's bringing in an electromagnetic storm in its wake?
But what are the feet? In every cave drawing, there's always the 3-pronged feet at
because
the back.
That's what you expect them to have. Okay, no, like if you are looking at something that you have never seen, if you are looking at something and trying to describe a jet engine or an airplane or something of this nature, what are you going to think that those big jet engines that are hanging off of it are? Well, they look like talons. They look like feet. They're the feet of this animal. So It must be a giant bird. It must have its talons. Like, look at ancient Egyptian paintings of different types of races and different things. They all had characteristics of what it actually would have looked like had it been a dragon, had it been a fox, whatever it was.
All I'm getting from this is you think us engines are so bad at art we can't draw feet. Jackass.
No, I'm just saying that there might be an explanation to all of these things that hooks them together in some kind of a way that makes it, well, maybe it wasn't a giant bird that brought the storm with it. Maybe it was some form of UFO or some form of craft that created...
And it's possible, and I do think some lightning storms are actually UFO invoked, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So here's another one that during while I was at Schaefer State Park, we had a storm move in, and just before the main part of it hit, I went out and took a photo up of the clouds because I thought they looked kind of unique, and I shared it with some people, and they're like, "Hey, did you see the face in it?" And I go, what do you mean the face? And I go back and look at it, and there is a face, and then as that storm moved in, just by where that face was, later on I caught a lightning bolt coming down out of that spot towards the hills, and I have the picture of the lightning bolt, but I don't have the picture of the face anymore.
But you know, that's what's interesting too, is in missing 401 cases, as soon as the person disappears, the weather changes, and a storm moves in.
Well, what happens when a jet breaks the sound barrier? What noise does it make?
A boom.
It makes a huge boom, right? So if you mix that with an electrical signature coming off of a ship, then you got thunder and lightning.
Huh?
Just saying.
Well, Arnold, I'll tell you my experiences, and having Itian Hall and doing some of the things, being able to go to Itian Hall and volunteering there and working there. I've been there for 11 years, and we've had all kinds of different weather form that has happened there. Spirit activity can definitely pick up during a thunder and lightning storm. We've seen it a lot of times, and in fact, investigators are always going, "Gosh, I hope it's going to be a lightning storm tonight." When we see it's going to be a report and strange weather and that kind of stuff, because it does charge the energy. These things feed off energy. That's why they drain batteries. They do everything else, and they need energy to do it. So, it does do that. I've also been on several cases and had similar dealings like you have had with my vehicle, where all of a sudden I don't feel well. Did you have a feeling of not feeling well either during this? Did you get nauseated?
No, it's the first time I wanted to jump back in the car and hide during a storm like that. It kind of spooked me that way. It just had an eerie feeling to it. Yeah. I didn't get nauseated or anything like that, but it was just one of those. And I've been back to Arkansas and been in the storms. I've been in Eastern Washington. So this one, out of what it did, it was like kind of unusual.
Yeah, I have a lot of problems, and currently right now my truck sits out there, and I have to. My CPU is burnt out in my truck. We don't know why or how. Everything was working right. I've had the windows go up and down on during certain times. So there's things that do affect. Driving down the road and you go through something, and the next thing you know, your window is going up and down, and you can't stop it. The back window of the truck opens up and closes all the time.
Is there damn aliens?
Something unusual happens, and then I have a lot of electrical issues with vehicles and so forth when I'm around. That's right now. I have to disconnect the negative side of the battery, or my truck will never start. So it drains everything out of the truck, and it is the first thing that when I took it to the dealer said, "Are you ever around heavy EMF pulses or anything like that?" And I went, "Well, possibly." Because that happens.
Well, the thing with electrical...
I've experienced it. But, it does affect activity and everything else. I haven't seen... a lot of times before a storm, you may see heavy UFO activity. You don't hear or see too much about it in the center of the storm.
Well, the other thing about electric storms is that they can cause static electricity.
Right.
And static electricity in itself can cause things to short and things to misfire in specific ways. Mm-hmm. It can also cause, your hair to stand up on your arm, things like this. So, if we're getting more spirit connection and stuff around a storm, it could potentially just be the static electricity that's in the air that would be making somebody feel like their hair is standing up, or somebody feel like certain things are happening.
I wonder if the static is actually bringing in a fear factor.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that there's always the possibility that the static electricity that is charged by the storm is causing some of the malfunctions to happen. Either that, or ghosts and spirits are living somewhere in the spectrum of the static electricity, and the reason that they appear more often during these type of times is because that static electricity in the air makes it easier for them to apparate.
Yeah. Well, it's like
we had
go ahead, Joe.
We had the electrical storms here this summer, and I've seen some big ones like back in Ohio and Wyoming and stuff. In California, we don't get massive electrical storms, but this summer we had those electrical storms hit, and you can go. There was thousands and thousands of people saying, we've never seen anything like this. The lightning wasn't even acting the same, and it was just blasting these huge bolts straight down, which you don't see that out here. Of course, people weren't worried about the UFOs or ghosts or anything because the entire state burst into flames.
Right.
You know, I mean, but that electrical storm was not natural. Whatever it was that caused it, no idea. But I was just standing outside watching the thing, and my jaw was just hanging open. It was amazing what was happening.
It's aliens.
Well, you know, the funny thing about that is when you talk about the lightning and you talk about the fire, the whole state burning up, that's paranormal in its own way, because from what I've seen, some of the things that have happened and things being totally in fires and everything else, I don't think I've ever seen anything charred up like it has been. I've never seen cars flipped over and all this other stuff, unless there was a tornado going on during a fire or something. It was half of houses.
There was a lot of odd
totally
things
ripped apart, and one side burnt, and the other one's not even burnt. You know, in neighborhoods, that there was something very strange going on there.
Some of it almost looked targeted.
It did exactly from what my research and what I was looking at. It looked like it was targeted, almost like there was a pulse beam or something that was just laid out there. But that's conspiracy.
That's a whole other show.
Right, exactly. It's a whole different show. But it looked very weird. But you know, there's so many things out there. You know, one of the things that I'll talk about with the electricity, we use a tri-field meter, and it's a natural tri-field meter. And it has some, which is basically electric and magnetic, but you can also use it as electric or magnetic, and you can also use it as radio. And so you switch it to some, and you leave it sitting, and you turn the alarm on it a little bit. And it's funny that there are certain people and individuals that can walk by it and it never goes off. And then another individual walks by and it picks up something off them. And the sum of they're putting off an electric or a magnetic field. Which
I have a brother that can't wear an electronic watch. He has to wear a wind-up watch.
Right, because
electronic watches will die within a day of him putting them on.
Right. It's funny. I had some people here, and they get used to me walking around, and I was driving, and the guy was like, I said, "What are you looking at?" And he says, "I'm just amazed every time we go underneath the light goes out when you're driving." We went to a Mexican restaurant. Everybody's out there sitting out there smoking, so I went out there to have a cigarette with them, and I walked outside, and as soon as I walked out, the light shut off outside. I came back in, it went back on. I went back out, it went out. Everybody goes, "Well, what are you doing? Get out of here."
But with some of those, I do think implants do affect some of the lights that go off.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those things that there are so many mysterious things that happen, and so many things that need to be studied and looked at. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're coming down to the last 14 minutes of the show. Preston, where can we find your books?
Hey, yeah, I do have a website. It's just do web search on my name. It should take you there. It's prestondennett.weebly.com. And I'm on Facebook as well and other social media platforms. On Amazon, online retailers, bookstores if you can find them. And I'm keeping busy. I think this is a very important subject, all of these subjects.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what's next on Preston's plans? Do you have a new book you're working on now?
Yep. One should be coming out in a couple of months about people who've had very extensive encounters, pretty much very similar to my recent book, Onboard UFO Encounters. So yeah, I think that's the kind of book I really like to read myself, is people who've had actual first-hand experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of speculation in this field, a lot of rehashes of old cases. So I'm trying to put out new stuff.
Excellent.
It sounds. I'm going to have to get that book. I'd like to see that, because we've had a lot of reports from different abductees about being on ships and some of the things they see, and I'd like to compare that to other ones. And that's one of the great things that Preston's doing. He brings out so much different things in cases that are not. It's not all Roswell. It's other cases. They can be throughout many years. He's done so much work with different cases. It makes it so interesting, and it's wonderful to be on air with you tonight.
Hey, yeah, you guys too. I appreciate it. You guys are amazing.
Oh, anytime. We'll try pulling you in a little more often.
Barry, what's coming up on Into Fire?
Into the Fire. This week we've got Angel Lee, the spiritual messenger. We're going to try some interesting things on it. She is known as more of a crossover. She deals with spirits to help people out. We are going to have her on air, and we're going to go live. If she makes a connection with somebody in our chat room, what we'll do is we'll send them a link, and they're going to be live, so she can have a face-to-face with them and maybe pull more energy out to be able to help them, to tell them what the spirits of their relatives or someone close to them that have passed may want them to know. So it's going to be an interesting show.
Good deal.
Awesome. And what are you guys talking about on Friday with the conspiracy crew?
Conspiracy crew, we've got a little bit of a problem with the conspiracy crew right now because Facebook shut us down.
Are you serious? Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes into the show, and I guess something happened that they shut our feed down. And currently right now I'm trying to get it back, so I'm looking to drop a feed somewhere else. So I'll probably maybe putting it on into the FAR's feed and running it through into the FAR. So look for it. It will either be on Parahouse or it will be on into the FAR. So
okay, just throw a link on my page and throw a link into Forest Moon Paranormal and the S4 page, and we'll start pushing it on whatever platform you go to.
I appreciate it. We do appreciate it.
So just a reminder, we have an investigation at the Hub on the 27th. We'll be talking about it. We are actually, Cole and I are joining Northwest Paranormal Research Group, doing a joint investigation. And then we'll have them on the show next week. We'll be talking about the investigation.
And Joe, where can we find the bunker?
I'm not telling anybody.
One of these days you're gonna
keep sending me pictures. I'm gonna narrow it down, bud.
You're trying right now.
No, but I'm still curious. When are you gonna start selling pointy sticks?
I'm not telling you where the bunker is, and you got to get your own pointy sticks.
Oh, I'm gonna make my own pointy. But you know what? My son makes pointy sticks. He's already with the blow gun.
Yeah, buddy.
Hell yeah. All right, so y'all stay safe this
Arnold,
week. Go ahead.
Arnold, let me know what if your son has other stuff, because we need to make a case on your son.
Oh, absolutely.
You would have fun. He's got more that he hasn't told us.
I'm sure.
So it would be interesting.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I've been trying to ask him if he would like to come on Sundays and say hi to you guys, but he's always doing something. So.
He's talking to his watcher. Make sure
you bring him on if you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
See if he can try meditating.
If he's comfortable.
See if it actually communicates with him.
If he's not comfortable with it, there's no pressure.
And soon I want to see about getting Savella on the show.
Yes.
To talk Marble Mountain Sasquatch Festival.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so y'all stay safe.
What do we got next week?
Huh? What?
What do we got next week?
The Hub. hub.
I just said the hub.
Is that next week?
At the hub. That's next week. You better start going through your gear. I've got to go through mine.
Kidding.
And get my batteries charged up. Make sure our 21-year-old Spirit doesn't drain my batteries. Yeah, that's going to be fun. So y'all stay safe this week. Stay tuned next week for our joint investigation report for S4. And remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.